This week on What's for Keto Dinner, I want to just kind of clean out our freezer. We have a lot of leftover turkey from Thanksgiving. And then we have a freezer full of meat and we need to make space because it is packed full. So I'm gonna be cleaning out the freezer. I got a lot of meat dishes planned for us, so let's get started on our list. If you guys wanna check out my other Keto What's for Dinner playlist, then make sure you click up here or down below in the description box. I just like to share my weekly menu spread of what I'm making for my family that's all keto approved and low carb. All right, so here's our weekly menu. Since we have a lot of leftover turkey, I'm gonna make a turkey soup. And on my website, I have my recipe for my keto turkey soup. I also did a video on it. You guys can click up here to see it. It's an old video, so I know it's very cringe-worthy. You might wanna plug your ears, just maybe watch it without the audio. But the recipe is good, and I will have it listed down below in the description box. But basically, I make a keto turkey soup using the leftover carcass from our turkey that we cooked. Those are valuable. Never throw those away because they make the best turkey bone broth. And if you guys are interested in a recipe for homemade turkey bone broth, I'll have that listed down below too, or I also have a video on it. You could click up here. On Monday, we're gonna have ribs. I have some pork ribs that I wanna make up in the Traeger, so we'll do that. And then Tuesday is gonna be leftovers, probably just a leftover rib meat. We might just have it just as, or maybe I'll make a pizza with it. And then Wednesday is gonna be a chuck roast. And then Thursday, I'm thinking spaghetti and meatballs. I found a bag of frozen meatballs that I prepped up probably about a month ago. I have a recipe for meatballs. You guys should check it out. I'll have it listed down below or just click on this video up here. They're freezer friendly, and so I like to prep up a bunch of them and store them away in the freezer just for situations like this when I kind of don't really have any inspiration or don't really want to spend a lot of time in the kitchen. So I'm going to use those meatballs. I'll toss them in the air fryer and cook them up, and then I'm going to use some noodles from Heaven's Natural. I have their spaghetti noodles, and so it's hearts of palm noodle. They're super easy to prepare. I'm just gonna add it with that with some low carb marinara sauce, and it's gonna be spaghetti dinner. But before we get started, let's go check out my freezer and see what I have. All right, I'm out here in my garage once again. We're gonna look in my freezers. We actually have two freezers now. I have a stand-up fridge and then we have a chest freezer too. So remember, if you watch these videos, you'll know that my husband got an elk, what was that, like 2 months ago now? So we have a ton of elk meat, and then we ordered a half of a cow. So that was just delivered to this weekend. So we've got a ton of meat, and we already had a bunch of stuff in there. So we are overdue for a freezer clean out. First up in this freezer, I have a lot of the elk meat. So we have a lot of ground elk burger, and then we have the steaks here. Next is the chest freezer. So this is where we have the half of a cow in here. So on this side we have steaks, and I think these are roasts. And then over here, oh, here's some more elk. These are my keto rolls. Remember I told you guys you could freeze them just after they're pre-baked. And then down below this, we have tons of ground beef, special cuts of steak, and then even underneath here, it's more stuff. Stew meat, tri-tips, everything. So these are beef chuck roasts, and I think I'm gonna take one of these out and we'll have that to eat too. Now I did already there we go, I said it again. I did already thaw some pork ribs. I had 2 slabs of pork ribs that were in the freezer. We took them out, thawed them out, and so I needed to cook those. I'm gonna cook those on the Traeger. A tip when it comes to just doing like a pantry or freezer clean out is to look and see what you have in stock and see what you can make from what you already have. And I know I have the Rayo's marinara sauce, so that's gonna work with my spaghetti, so I don't have to purchase any of that. And another tip is you can go through your fridge too and see what sort of vegetables can I use up, how can I add them to each meal, how can I incorporate them in there. Maybe you can make a side dish from it, maybe you can incorporate it into the whole meal. I don't really have that much leftover vegetables for this week. I do have some salad that can be used up, so we'll probably have that as a side for probably every day this week. But I want to prep up my 2 main meat dishes for you guys today. So I'm going to show you how to make the ribs and the chuck roast. These ribs we actually picked up from Costco, and they came in a 3-pack. I already had one, so we're gonna make up the others, and I'll show you how to get the membrane off. Wait, is this membrane already off? This one looks like it's off. Huh. So one of the membranes is off, the other one isn't, which is good because then I can show you exactly what you're supposed to do. Interesting that they would tear one off and then the other two they weren't off. So what you want to do is you're going to need 2 tools, a butter knife and a dry paper towel. And on the rib, you can see this here, here's the membrane. What you're going to do is on one of the ribs that's kind of closer to the end, you're going to slide your butter knife underneath, like right around here. And then lift up your butter knife, just to kind of reveal that membrane underneath. There we go. And once you get your knife under there, you should be able just to slide your finger underneath. And this is where the paper towel comes in. So you lift the membrane up a little bit with your fingers, take the paper towel, hold on to the membrane, and gently peel. And this will be super easy. It should come off very, very easy at that point. There we go. Now, a lot of people actually like to keep the membrane on, and you can definitely do that. The membrane does provide some nutrition. It's some collagen in there. And also a lot of people will keep it on too because they like that they feel like it holds it, the ribs together a little bit better. So it's not necessary that you take it off, but I like to just because I don't really like the membrane. All right, now we're gonna season these ribs and then we'll throw them on the Traeger. And to season, I'm just using salt and pepper. Let's keep it simple. Simple is sometimes the best tasting. All right, we're ready for the Traeger. We're outside right now. Don't mind my messy backyard. I have the Traeger turned on. When you first use the Traeger, or when you first turn it on, you have to have the lid open and allow the smoke, all that bad stuff that's in that turbine, to come off. And so that takes several minutes. I think it's like 5 or 10 minutes. And once all the smoke is gone, then it's ready. While we're waiting for that smoke to come off the Traeger so we can put our ribs on, tell me, you guys, how was your Thanksgiving? What did you do? Did you spend it just on your own, social distancing? Did you get together with some family? What did you make too? And did you guys stay keto? I want to hear what your plans were and what you did. These are gonna go bone side down inside the Traeger. We're gonna cook it at 225 degrees and check it after 3 hours. Now that my ribs are on the Traeger and they're cooking, let's get started on the chuck roast. So this is gonna be like a pot roast, but it's an easy pot roast recipe, and I'm actually not gonna add any vegetables to it. So feel free, if you guys want to add some vegetables, like some celery, onion, a little bit of carrot, daikon, radish, do that. They will cook up along with the chuck roast, but I'm just gonna cook it without, just because I'm gonna use it. We kind of like it without, and then like maybe like a side salad. My husband's doing carnivore diet right now, now anyway. So yeah, we're just gonna be meat week for him. Now this meat that we got from our friend Preston, it's all, it's from his cows. They're all grass-fed and grass-finished too. The meat is excellent. If you guys are in the Northern California region though, like upper Northern California, like true Northern California, which is past Redding or Redding and past that, it's not San Francisco, that's not really Northern California. My mom's side of the family owns a cattle ranch. It's called Jenner Family Beef, and they do sell their meat. It is also grass-fed. It's grain-finished, but it's delicious. And so you should definitely check out them. I'll have their website listed down below. Now I love chuck roasts. They're just filled with a lot of flavor. It's probably because there's a lot of fat in there, and a bone too. So you get the flavor from the bone. But they're an inexpensive cut of meat too. And there's a lot of meat, and so it can really go a long way. Now normally when I cook this, I cook it in a slow cooker with no water or juice or anything like that. It's just I put the chuck roast in there and it's seasoned with salt and pepper, and then I cook it. It's gonna release its own juices as it cooks, but it makes like the best chuck roast ever, best pot roast. And the broth that it makes is so flavorful. But this I'm actually gonna cook on the stove top. Not the stove top, sorry. I'm gonna cook it in the oven in a big stock pot. The first thing that we're gonna do is pat it dry with a paper towel, just because I wanna get rid of this excess moisture. And then I'm gonna season it with salt and pepper. This is a thicker cut of meat and it's gonna cook slowly. So ideally, I probably should have seasoned this earlier this morning or even last night, just to allow the salt to penetrate to the inside layers, but that didn't get done. That's okay, it's still gonna be good. I don't think growing up, my mom, when she cooked, she ever did anything like that. I don't think she ever seasoned things ahead of time, and I felt like her cooking was amazing. I can definitely tell that this meat is grass-fed because it really has a beefy aroma, which is very characteristic of grass-fed beef. People mistake it for gaminess, but it's not really gamey, it's just beefy. It's more developed flavor. And the more you consume grass-fed beef, the more you'll become accustomed to that. And all of a sudden, conventionally raised meat won't taste quite as good because it doesn't have that beefy flavor. But that's just grass-fed. If you want to eat regular conventionally raised beef, go ahead, because we do eat that sometimes too. It's just we were very lucky this year and got a hold of some grass-fed beef. Next, I'm gonna put this in a stock pot. It's gonna go on the stove top first, and we're gonna brown it on all sides with some olive oil. And then I'm going to transfer it to the oven. You could also, at that point, if you wanna add in your vegetables or some aromatics like some herbs, a little bit of broth, you can do that as well. Speaking of cleanouts of the refrigerator and the freezer, I actually did have some veggies on hand. And so I know I was gonna do just meat only, but this asparagus is super weepy and it is begging to be put in a stew. And I do have a half onion that I should use up. So I am gonna add it onto my pot roast. Now, I also wanted to mention the reason why that we brown our meat is that it's gonna seal in all of the flavor and the moisture. It just creates this barrier. If you were to do your pot roast without browning the meat, a lot of that flavor and juiciness and moisture is gonna leak out when you cook it. I found some chicken broth in the refrigerator too, so I'm gonna use up the rest of this. When we cook this in the oven, you do need to have a little bit of liquid. The purpose of the wine is it's going to deglaze our pan, and then we're gonna have a little bit of braising liquid to help cook our beef when we add in the chicken broth. Next, I'm gonna find a lid for this pot, and then we're gonna put it in the oven. It's a 300-degree oven. We're gonna cook it for around 3.5 or 4 hours. And since I do have a little bit of this wine left over, let's not let any of it go to waste. If you guys are interested in this wine, it is keto friendly, it's very low carbs. There's actually a nutrition label on the back. It's from Secco Wine Club. I know I've talked about them before, and this bottle is called Palo 61, and there's only 0.26 grams of carbs per glass. So that's per 5-ounce glass. It's probably more than 5 ounces, but it's amazing wine. It's really, really good. I'll have them linked down below for you guys. So perfect for holidays if you're gonna be entertaining around Christmas. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of What's for Keto Dinner. There is some great recipes on this video, more great recipes listed down below in the description box too, if you guys are interested in the Keto What's for Dinner playlist, as well as my website, KetoFocus.com. Have a happy holiday. Cheers.